How is everybody today? Good? Good, good, good. This is a great community. I love the RevOps community. You'll hear me talk with a lot of passion about this community. We do some of these things in the US and in the States, and I just love the experiences that I get learning from my peers, learning from everybody. So hopefully, you know, for me, this is also giving back to the community and making sure that I can play a role in that as well. So my name's Anil Somaney. I'm the SVP over RevOps over at Chargebee. I've worked for a few companies along the way. Lifesize is a small video conferencing company that got acquired by Marlin Equity. I worked for a company called Splunk, went through their IPO journey, and then also went to Cloudflare. And for those of you that know Cloudflare, we had a pretty nice IPO and have flattened out a little bit now since. And now I'm over at Chargebee, and I lead the RevOps organization. So today I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about revenue operations and what it really means and how I've developed this at a couple different companies. But before we start, I always find it, has everyone played this 2 truths and a lie game? Everyone knows? Where's Tony? Is Tony? Yes. So Tony, you can't vote. So I'm going to give you 3 facts or 3 statements, and you can tell which one's the lie. Number 1, I have 5 tattoos. Number 2, I've shot a coworker. Number 3, nobody laughs at that one. Number 3, I've lived in 8 states, 2 countries over 12 years. Which one's the lie? I've shot a coworker? 3? So some people think I've actually shot a coworker, huh? Afterwards, we'll have a networking session, and I'll explain to you the story. I do have 5 tattoos, and I have shot a coworker. So I'll explain the story to you. Come find me afterwards, and we'll have a conversation about it. So one of the things I'm really passionate about is the flywheel. And as I think about growing and scaling companies, I think about equating it to a flywheel. And one of the core engineering concepts within a flywheel, the more energy you put in, there's an outsized impact on the other side. There's a more outsized impact for results, for reporting, for analytics, whatever it is, but there's an outsized impact on the other side. And to get started on any flywheel, you have to have some inertia. So I think about Formula One and the race car. And you think about the transition that the race car has gone through in the past 100 years, 200 years. Every piece of equipment on that has gone through a ton of transition. So if I look at this car and I think about the tires, you think about the equipment that goes into the tires. You think about the materials that are used to make the tires. You think about the engine. The engines have become lighter. They've become more dynamic. You think about the technology, right? And start thinking about your businesses in this way. You think about the technology that goes into these engines. You think about the aerodynamics. If one screw is loose in that tail, it causes a little more friction, right, along the way. And it causes the car to not be as aerodynamic. And one of the biggest things that's happened along the way is data and analytics, right? So I'm sure all of us can relate to that from a RevOps perspective. One lap around the track, this car puts out over 100 different data points. They're sent upstairs. Upstairs is in the driver's ears telling them, do this, turn here, slow down here, do that. And think about our businesses, right? So if we can deliver these data and analytics to different leaders within our business, in advance of them knowing that they've got a problem, we will have won the game, right? And so let's think about strategic revenue operations. And really what I want to focus on is how do we pull RevOps out of this tactical operating mode of just running reports, being a CRM administrator, stuff like that. That's part of our job, but that's not the main part of our job. And so very simply, I view my job 5 things. Number 1, charting the course. How do we think about the course of the company and the strategic levers within the company? Number 2, laying the track. So pulling the strategy down into tactical execution. What are the core initiatives cross-functionally that we need to do to be able to make this engine run? Tuning the engine. You can see we had a great image team. RSO, revenue, strategy, and operations is kind of what I've called my team. But tuning the engine. Knowing that there are little tweaks along the way that you can make to fine-tune your engine to help your company run faster and more efficiently. Next, keeping the cars racing, right? And then the last piece, going faster. And this is the core of it, right? Like, how do you optimize your engine? How do you get a salesperson in the CRM, whether using Salesforce or anything else, how do you get them, instead of 12 clicks to create an opportunity, drive it down to 8? So I think about this, back to this flywheel talk, right? And one of the core concepts I really like to think about is alignment. And so many times, how many people in the room feel like sales and marketing is violently aligned today? 0? Nobody. What are the issues? What are the issues with sales and marketing? Communication. Do your sales and marketing teams align on pipeline targets? Everyone agree that their targets are right? Definition of a lead? Lead source? Attribution is a big one. Yeah, I mean, if you think about all these, and this all continues on to the customer success side, it continues into operations. So I think about a go-to-market leader, and really their goal is to drive this cross-functional alignment with RevOps. So I look at marketing, and you know, if I think about 3 core things for marketing, 1 is the brand, getting the brand out there and recognized. 2 is demand gen, right? Pipe targets, all that good stuff. And then public relations, right? Depending on the stage of company that you're at. You look at sales, and a lot of people view sales as, okay, hey, you just got to deliver on a bookings or an ARR target. Sales is much more than that. Sales is delivering and solving customer problems. And this is something at Chargebee we really focus on. It's really understanding what's going on with the customer and how do we solve this. Next up is customer support, and I'd say, you know, we call it post-sales, customer success, whatever you want to call it, mapping the customer journey. Our head of customer support thinks about the journey that our customers go through. Who talks to them first? How is the information communicated from the first conversation to the technical conversation to the sales conversation? And then after the sales conversation, what happens? And then partner, right? There's always an ecosystem, a partner ecosystem, whether it's GSIs, whether it's resellers, disties, whatever it is. But how do you expand your reach, right? Instead of just a direct, there's also an indirect. And I personally, every time I see this, it makes me mad that RevOps is the smallest wheel. I have to get that fixed. But RevOps is an engine that helps spin all of this. It's a strategic lever. And when all of these are operating in unison, you get this, I call it violent alignment. My CEO doesn't like the word violent, but it's alignment. You get everybody thinking the same way. If you can define marketing leads and what their churn is, now think about this, because marketing leads, let's go look at a pay-per-click. Let's go look at a content syndication lead. What is the churn rate on those leads? Can any of you all tell today? It's such a hard thing to do, because you normally think about marketing to sales. Pull it all the way through to success. Full funnel is how you want to think about this, right? Then you can make really educated decisions from a marketing perspective. Should I be buying leads here or there? Should I be buying this content syndication? I don't know. They may convert really well from a sales perspective, but if they churn the next year, it's not really helpful. So there's a lot of conversations. I've heard sales ops, I've heard RevOps, customer success ops. There's a bunch of different ways to structure organizations. And I realize in the room we've got different size companies. Chargebee, you know, we're, I don't know, 700, 800, 900 people, right? This is how we've structured, and this is how I've structured organizations in the past, and they've just had a couple additional levels in there. First up is field operations. So I've got a field operations VP today, and what she manages, sales and BD operations, right? This is kind of the traditional sales ops role, thinking about productivity, territory planning, things like that, quota setting. And then BD ops. And then customer success ops is also, you know, how we think about account managers. How many accounts do they have? How many touches on the accounts? What's the customer health score? Things like that. You've got partner ops, that's that third-party ecosystem. And then marketing ops. So this is a function that sometimes you see sitting over in marketing. We just brought this over, I don't know, a year ago into my organization. And the value of having these people sit next to each other, listen to the same conversation in staff meeting, walk cross-functionally across any one big initiative. If our goal is to grow at 20%, 30%, 40% year over year, these people have to be aligned, right? You can't have marketing ops trying to optimize for one thing and sales ops trying to do something different. The second piece is center of excellence. And so the leader of this organization runs a deal desk for us, Comp, right? It's always everyone's favorite subject. Comp, tools and tech, and insights and analytics. And think about insights and analytics as elevated. Pulling a report just to pull a report and send it out is worthless, right? Having someone come and say, hey, look, here's what I understand from this report, and here are 3 recommendations on what we need to do differently is next level. And I feel this is a lot of times where RevOps drops. Go-to-market enablement. So there's a leader over here that kind of does elevated enablement is kind of the way I like to think about this. So a lot of people are very reactionary. If you've got, do we have any sales leaders in here? I know we've got a sales guy in here. There's a sales leader. So a lot of times a sales leader, no offense, will come to us and say, I have to have my salesperson get better at this, at converting. I'm losing too much at stage 2 opportunities. Got it. Thanks. And we will help that. Having an enablement leader that is in the data, that is held accountable at productivity per rep, ramp time, time to first deal, ASP, is a whole different ballgame. Having that person get ahead of the sales leader and go to them and say, hey, I see you've got 10 people on your team. 3 of those people haven't sold a deal. We see their pipeline dropping at this. Here's the type of enablement I recommend before the sales leader knows it, right? Because the sales leader is going to start thinking about, how do I hit my number? They're focused on the bigger picture. But if the enablement person can come and partner with them from a data perspective and get ahead of that sales leader, you'll do well from an enablement perspective. And that's what I mean by proactive enablement, not the reactive of, hey, I need to hit my number and this person's dragging me down. And then this is transformation. He ends at the bottom there. But this person is cross-functional. This is the person that ties it all together. This is kind of my chief of staff. This is a person that's looking out 12 to 18 months on the horizon. I ask all my team to think strategically and operate tactically. It's one of the big things that I think is leaders in RevOps that you have to do. This is a person whose sole job is to work cross-functionally and broader along the horizon. So just before I get into this next section, I'd love to hear just maybe quickly, what are the core goals of RevOps for you all? Tony, where'd you go? There you go. Tony, what are your goals? I just met him yesterday, so I can call on him now. System integration. Oh, M&A integrations. That's cool. What else? Yep. Yeah, you got something. Come on. Profitability. What else? Cost reduction. That's interesting. Yeah, cost reduction. What else? What is it? Unity. Yeah, unity, cross-function. You know, one of the things that I would encourage you all to do is really think about what is your organization, what do each one of you stand for? And for us, productivity is a core lever. How do we drive more productivity across every person in the go-to-market organization? And sometimes that is systems and tools, like how do we find more and improve systems and tools, reducing click streams, reducing the UI, or improving the UI. Sometimes it is about cost optimization. There's multiple things that you can do to make your company more efficient. Find, define, and measure those 3, 4 things and sing them. Sing them loudly, right? Because the way RevOps gets pulled up is numbers and getting elevated from those numbers and being able to define those and letting everybody see them. Here's an initiative framework that I use. You can skip steps, you can add to this, but anytime a new initiative comes into the organization, I think about it from 6 perspectives. 1, what's going on today? What are the capabilities within the field today? And this could be sales, CS, marketing, wherever it sits. What are the optimal go-to-market relationships? How do we want it to work, right? Many times you'll get someone coming and saying, okay, we need to reorganize and go do this. Great. Let's talk a little bit about this. Let's follow this in a methodical way. Comp for our sales friends is always a big thing. Enablement, we just talked about. So how do we deliver the enablement to support that change? Reports. So this is one thing. So many times we launch these initiatives and we don't put strong reporting and analytics right behind it, right? If we make a change and we don't see the improvement or the metrics behind it, it's okay. Turn around and go find something else. I think a lot of times we get really wed to change, and it was my idea that we'd run this. If it doesn't work, it's okay. The sign of a good leader is one that's going to adapt and change quickly. and then you optimize and adjust as you're needed. So as I wrap up, I wanted to leave you with a couple of tips and tricks and things that have worked for me. The first one is start with the end in mind. If someone comes to you and says, hey, I want to make this change, go all the way to the end. Tell me what you're trying to accomplish. Is it productivity per seller? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And work your way backwards. A lot of times, someone comes to us with a problem and we're already problem solving, right? Like, okay, we can do this, we can make this, let me switch this over and we're done. That's good, but what are you trying to accomplish? Get to the big goal, get to the metric. Customer success is the new sales. And I've got a seller in here, so he's probably gonna throw something at me here, but customer success done well drives a company, drives valuation, and will drive single-handedly your financials. Do not overlook that function. And so many people think of it as, oh, okay, it's churn only. There's expansion, there's NRR, and you have to be smart about that. And think about that relative to the deals that your sellers, your new sellers, are going through, yeah? Operate above the fray, and sometimes I get in the weeds on this one, but there is always gonna be noise in every company and every organization that we're in. And the sign for me in a good RevOps organization is a person and a leader and an executive that can pull above that can see, the forest from the trees, and someone that can actually pull up and think, okay, strategically, here's what we're trying to do. Sometimes understanding the minutia is good, but don't get caught up in it. This has been a really big one for me. Be an active, unbiased voice at the executive table. So RevOps can report 100 different places. I've seen it report 100 different places. In fact, I think in one of our email exchanges, we talked about where RevOps could report to. Just curiosity, how many report into sales? Into the CRO? A few. Anyone into marketing? No? COO? Couple more. Directly to CEO? Yeah. It's interesting to see, like as RevOps has started pulling up, having someone that doesn't have a vested interest in a specific initiative or agenda is important. And sometimes CRO, CMO can do that, right? They can pull up and do that. The president go-to-market is a good spot because typically they span overall, and the CEO is a great spot. I will tell you at Chargebee, we work hard to pull up an operational layer, and I sit at the executive table. We have discussions on operational initiatives and issues and things like that, and it allows me to be really unbiased. And that part is freeing. It lets you kind of work through the truth and some of the actions without, a CRO or a CMO bending on you and saying, hey, no, I need you to do this. The last piece for me, every decision has a downstream impact, and I think the best RevOps leaders really tie those two things together. Every little field you add, we're going through a system implementation, and one of the things that we're talking about is close lost reason codes. And I'm sure there's everybody does. And I think we've exchanged 22 emails on should we make it mandatory or not. And back to operate above the fray, but this has a downstream impact. Adding a field in there will cause a salesperson to probably select the first drop down that's there. And so now we're trying to be very strategic about what we're choosing, probably overthinking it a touch. But think about the downstream impact. If you go pour more money into marketing, what happens to the quality of leads? Where are they going to get it from? What happens to churn? You have to think about those things and really tie them together tightly before you make any one large change. So with that, I wanted to say thank you again. Hopefully you can feel it. I'm extremely passionate about this space. I love seeing the number of people here, and I love seeing kind of the rise of RevOps and what's happening in the community. So I'm gonna be here to answer any questions. I will give you the answer of, I'm sure everyone's gonna ask me about how I shot someone. So I'm gonna be around and would love to meet with you, chat with you. If you can't, I'll drop my email and we can chat later. But I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.